business nerds. What's up? Welcome to another episode of the Business for Unicorns podcast. And today I'm so excited because I have one of my favorite humans that I've ever met in the fitness industry who puts a smile on my face every time I fucking talk to him. And it's Mateo Lopez.
Oh, wow.
Hi, Mateo.
Wow. Hi. How are you?
You do. It's true. Every time we connect, I'm like, this dude is smart. He's fun. Like, I feel like I'm always having a good time when we chat.
Well, the feeling's mutual, so that's good, at least.
Yeah. For people who don't know Mateo is the co-founder and product wizard at Kilo, formerly known as Gym Lead Machine. You've all heard us talk about Mateo's work on this podcast a ton. You're going to hear us talk about it even more because we're such a big fan of the work you're doing. I think what you're doing is so needed. In a nutshell, can you just tell our listeners, what is Kilo? What is the work you're doing right now? And why should they give a shit?
Kilo is it's a one-stop shop for all of your digital needs. Basically, all the tools that you need to run your business, the online side of it, I should say. Mm-hmm. So everything from your website to your marketing automation, all the way to the actual sale, the stuff you need to manage your gym members, collect payments, book appointments and classes. So we've got all that stuff for you all in one place. Instead of having to stitch together different kinds of services and talk to different providers, for us, you can get it all in the one-stop shop. So that's Kilo. Hopefully I did a good job explaining what it is.
You nailed it. You're basically on the sales team now.
Great.
Yeah.
I don't do sales, so that was actually a really tough question that you just asked me, but that's good.
Yeah, you did it. Well, I want to take advantage of having your brain on this podcast, and because you are the product wizard of all things kind of websites and automation, I want to kind of just walk through kind of the marketing funnel and just pick your brain at different parts. And before we even get into a website or automation, I think we probably would agree that most good conversations about marketing start with who the hell's your avatar? Who are you actually talking to? So you can just kind of walk me through how you, as someone who develops software to help make this easier, how do you think about, finding an avatar and kind of getting the ball rolling?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think when you're thinking about marketing, when you're thinking about trying to acquire new clients, like there's these three pillars, or like I've seen a triangle. There's different ways, but there's three, holy trinity, you could call it. Yeah. There's market, there's message, and then there's your media. So the first one you brought up is your market, your target audience, your niche, and knowing your avatar is really critical. There's a quote by Brian Tracy. If you've ever read any sales books, he's probably the first one that pops up. You're like, good books on sales. He's kind of the OG guru. He says, if you can see through Joe Jones' eyes, then you can see what Joe Jones buys, which is a fun little rhyme.
Are you sure it was Brian Tracy, or was it Dr. Seuss? I think it was Dr.
Could have been Dr. Seuss. Honestly, he maybe took it from someone else. I don't know. Maybe it was scribbled on like a cave drawing in the Paleolithic era, and he just found it. Who knows? But the idea there is, if you can walk in the person's shoes that you're trying to sell to, if you can really understand them, then you can understand the challenges that they face and the problems they have, and then more effectively communicate how you could potentially solve that problem, if any, and hopefully that you're actually the best suited to solve their problem, right? So that's kind of the key. And so knowing your avatar, there's tons of different ways in which you can figure out who that person is, who the people in your audience is or are. There's lots of different worksheets you can find. I'm sure, Mike, you've got probably something in your curriculum that helps people identify this, or a worksheet. But you're looking at basic demographics, right? So age ranges, kind of careers or places that these people work, where they commute, where they buy groceries, maybe gender can maybe leans one way or another, depending on who you're trying to focus on. And then it's pain points and frustrations, right? So busy moms, right? A pain point is just finding time to work out, or busy dads, or busy people, busy parents, let's say it that way.
That's good.
Finding time to get to the gym is a big pain point. It's a big frustration, right? So maybe your marketing message can say, hey, get fit in 30 minutes twice a week, or get fit by just working out 30 minutes twice a week. Like, that's easy. I have 30 minutes. I have 2 times a week to maybe do that, right? You're addressing a frustration or a pain point. And then you want to understand their goals and their dreams, their aspirations, right? Young 20-year-olds in New York who just graduated college and now they're doing their first vacation and they want to look hot in their Instagram photos, right? Their aspirations and their goals are to look hot on Instagram. So can you service and provide a solution for that goal and that aspiration, right? That's the idea. When you're trying to understand your niche and knowing your avatar, those are the things you kind of want to dig into.
Yeah, I think well said, Mateo. I think that's exactly it. I mean, this holy trifecta, if you're going to think about your market, you got to think about those two categories of things, the demographics and the psychographics. Like, who are they? Where are their eyeballs? Where do they go? What do they do?
Right, yeah, where do they
make...
congregate?
Yeah. And then also, like, what do they care about? I love that you organize it by those categories. So, and I think you even started to get into one of the other pillars here, which is a little bit about message. So you maybe talk about that pillar a little bit more?
Yeah, totally. So, yeah, if you understand your niche, the biggest thing here then is next to really understand like their problem, and people like to talk about their number one problem, right? Mm-hmm. What's like the biggest pain point? Because if you can identify that and you can solve it, then ideally you can charge whatever you want, right? Yep. If you are, if there's, and that's why people can charge a lot for, medicine, for example. Like that's a problem, and the level in which it's like a high, like high priority problem, right? It's like a level 10.
Yeah. I was literally just reading. Sorry to interrupt. I was just reading a New York Times article really this morning, and they were talking about how much new parents, especially first-time parents, spend on baby gear.
Yep.
And you're exactly right. It's like there's so much heightened anxiety around that issue of like our first baby, we don't know what we're going to do, we're going to fuck it up. And if someone can say this bassinet, this the video camera, this thing solves your problems, they can charge insane amounts of money for it, and they do. I was reading about some sort of $1,500 self-rocking bassinet. I was like, are you kidding me? But it's just part of this multi-billion dollar. So I think you're right. It's like when you have the right message and product and service that solves a problem, then price is almost anything you want it to be, which is not always a good thing, right? There's some ethics
totally
that probably talks about.
100%.
And
yes,
that's also how capitalism works.
Yes. Yes. We can spend a whole separate podcast talking about that. But
that's true.
but then so when it comes to your messaging, right? Like, and I see this even to this day, certain websites, like, we've got a great community, like, it's a very welcoming place, and like, that is awesome, but that's not really addressing like very, painful problem, right? Like, most people who are looking for personal trainers, or they're looking for a gym, right? The problem that's most salient to them at that moment is usually not like, I'm lacking in community in my life. That may be a problem that you need to like maybe help them realize too. Like, community does help you stay at the gym, right? That's like a benefit that comes later. But at that moment in time, it's like, I'm gonna, like, my doctor said I'm gonna have like a heart attack soon if I don't like change my diet and work out. Or like, I have this vacation coming up and I need to fit in my swimsuit or whatever. Like, while that's, maybe that's more superficial, but that's the thing that's most painful in that moment. It's not like gym in Chicago with best community, right? It's how to lose 10 pounds in 8 weeks, or, how to do, that's the thing they're Googling, right? And so your message needs to line up with that. Your messaging, I should say, on your ads or even on your website, it needs to align with that. With those pain points.
I think it's well said, Bajana. I think the focus on picking like the number one pain point is often I see where people make a mistake. They try to be everything to everyone. They try to solve all the problems. Like, well, we serve all kinds of clients. They have all kinds of different problems. Like, well, you have to pick one. Pick one kind of client who is your favorite or the best or the most likely to benefit from your services, and the biggest problem they have. And for a lot of people, that narrowing down process is tough. So I'm glad that you're putting emphasis on, you got to find the one. The one place where I'll yes and you, and then I'll let you keep going, is yes, I do think that for many people, their number one concern is not, I need a gym community. And I will also say, for example, MFF fills this need. For our avatar is like a 30-something-year-old gay man who, by seeing messaging about inclusive, welcoming committee, sees somewhere where he can belong, right? And that it can be, but I don't think it's common. I think in some markets it can be a top pain point that I don't feel like I belong in a gym. It's not a place I feel comfortable. I've always been excluded from there. In fact, I've actually had trauma from going into some of those places where I don't belong. So in some cases there can be some messaging, in fewer cases, where that is the number one problem we're solving for people.
Totally.
I think
if that's your
EMFF is an exception, right? That's probably not the norm.
100%. If that's your niche, right? There's a gym in LA that I've been following. Like, it's called Everybody, and it's because there's this big problem where exactly what you just said. I know I want to work out. I'm actually very motivated. Working out's not my issue. My issue is finding a place where I feel comfortable, safe, welcomed to work out. Based on my, identity, right? And so that is very effective marketing and messaging for that particular niche, right? Exactly. If you've identified this is my niche, these are people who are not being serviced or served in my community. That totally makes sense. That's a very painful, and your messaging can say that, like, you can. That's a very compelling offer for that group, right?
100%.
But at the same time, I've seen your ads, right? You have a low barrier offer. That's very compelling, right? The price point, the free week that you guys have done before, or it's like a $29 trial, like that's also very effective. We can talk about different ways to craft offers later, but yeah, that too, right? Pain point. I want to get started at the gym, but it can be expensive. I don't know. It's like, well, here's a try before you buy. Here's a way to do that. So yeah, it totally depends on why, and you need to figure out your niche and then solve the problem for that niche. And another way you were saying, you were mentioning, how do you actually find that person? A really good exercise is you can actually just go and look at your current existing client base and look at your top 5 people that you enjoy working with the most, that have actually given you some referrals and who buy most of your services. Maybe there's someone who buys group classes and personal training and nutrition. That's the person you want at your gym. So take those 5 people and then try and figure out, well, where did this person work? What age range do these people like group in? And you'll start to find commonalities. And then that's a way you can actually get to know your market a little bit better and actually start to zero in on that audience. So I hope that makes, that was a bunch of different things we jumped around.
No, that was lovely though. It was a great tip though. I think it's so smart. Go find the people who are buying all your stuff, getting the most value, that you love working with. And I'll take it a step further and say, take them all to lunch. Right?
Exactly. Buy them coffee.
Buy them
exactly
coffee,
right.
And then go just pick their brain and figure out what do they have in common and craft your avatar around that. I think it's so smart, Mateo. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, let's talk about the third pillar, which is media. I'm sure we can probably spend a lot of time here, but once you know who you're serving in your market and your niche, once you have some core messaging for how you're solving their problem and getting their attention, then where you place that, how you share that information is often the media. So I'm going to start with websites. Is that a good place to start?
Totally, yeah. I do want to. I love talking about websites. But I actually wanted to say, for the people who are listening, who are just starting out and maybe don't even have a website just yet, a lot of the things that we're going to talk about or that I would like to talk about in a couple minutes here, when it comes to marketing, a lot of the kind of key to success and winning in marketing is actually what you do with the people who actually inquire, like your lead nurture, your sales, and then your operations, your fulfillment. All that matters, in my opinion, way more or just as much as, how effective your ad campaign is or something like that, right? So there's, let's say you don't even have a website. You just have a sandwich board outside of your gym, right? There's still people who walk past it, right? That's your traffic, right?
Yep.
Those are the people walking past. Those are the eyeballs. So how many eyeballs? You can set up a security camera, and just count how many people walk by. And then you can test and see, well, how many people actually walk in from my sign based off of what I've written on the sandwich board, right? You can even A/B test your sandwich board outside. Even if you don't have a web page or a landing page or a Facebook campaign, you can still get traffic and introductions or leads from that sandwich board. And then once they walk in, let's say they see your sandwich board, let's say it's really effective. Maybe the message says like, come in and get a free coffee. And then they walk into your gym, then it's like, all right, you have a lead, you have someone who's opted in. What are you going to do with that person? Can you get them to sit down for a consultation? Can you sell them? All that matters just as much and has to be dialed in, because if it's not, it doesn't matter how effective your website or your marketing or your message is, or if you can't even just convert someone who just walked in through the door. So a lot of the focus needs to be there and dialed in for you to get the most benefit from a lot of the online stuff that we're going to talk about here.
That's a brilliant suggestion, Mateo, and I don't think I hear enough people talking about that concept of like using kind of grassroots, analog, face-to-face, neighborhood-driven marketing as a way to kind of cut your teeth and learn what works and test messaging, from sandwich boards to flyers to posters in your community. You can apply that same strategy of split testing flyers in one neighborhood.
Yep.
This block gets this flyer, this block gets this flyer, and see what works and what doesn't work. I think it's so smart. And for people who are, maybe a little nervous about technology, or don't have the money yet to invest in it, I think that's such a great way to get the ball rolling.
You still have a sales funnel.
Yes.
You still have a marketing funnel. You still have metrics that you can look at. You can say I sent out 100 flyers and it had a particular cell phone number on it. You can count how many people called that particular cell phone, and then you can basically, you have a conversion rate, right? And then you can see how many people who dialed the phone booked an intro, and then you can see how many of those people actually bought, right? You have a funnel there, and you have metrics, and you have ways you can levers you can pull and improve on your entire sales process, right? Your entire client journey. So so exactly right. There's ways you can do this with analog. So don't, so there you go.
Yeah, I think it's so smart. I think you're also, the emphasis you put on, it's not just enough to get them to take a first step. Is that the experience you create as part of the follow up, right? That is the thing that gets people to actually know you and like you and trust you and buy, right? It's like after they take that first step, they're taking a kind of leap of faith into your arms, and if you don't fucking catch them, right, that's bad news. So
exactly, it's exactly right. It's exactly right, and that's where people get tripped up. They're like, oh, I don't have enough leads, I don't have enough opt-ins, like. And then people, I've owned many gyms before in my life, so I understand the pain point there and the frustration.
Yep.
But yeah, there's other level, like, look at your existing client base. Can you potentially upsell them? Can you provide more value to them? Can you get referrals from them? And then use that money to then invest in, maybe other online lead generation kind of tactics. But so all these roads should
lead to a website.
Should lead to a website, right? Yeah. If you do have flyers, ideally your website is on there. If you are doing ads with Facebook or Google or Instagram, they should point to your website. All roads should lead eventually to this hub, and this hub should be your website. That's kind of the number one place, right? If they are going to Google gyms in my area, maybe you'll come up on the map, and that's more of a Google SEO thing that we can talk about on a different episode. But yeah, ideally your page might show up and people are going to click on it, and what happens when they actually do. So if you want to go over the do's and don'ts, the do's and don'ts.
Some good do's and don'ts on websites, because I think people get hung up a lot here in overcomplicating things. And I'm going to guess, my crystal ball tells me you're going to encourage people to keep it simple. And so I'm excited to hear your do's and don'ts. Hello, fitness business nerds. Listen, I know that you are interested in running a successful training gym. If not, you wouldn't be listening to this podcast. And lucky for you, our friends over at Kilo make running a successful gym easier than ever. Basically, Kilo is an all-in-one platform that helps you get more leads, helps you sell more memberships, and helps you keep those members longer. Sounds magical, right? I mean, here's how it works. First, they build you a fancy new website very quickly. Then they give you marketing software with kind of done-for-you content that lets you email and text leads, lets you manage all your contacts, and lets you book appointments. Finally, you get a gym management system where you can manage all your classes, collect payments, and track your key metrics, all in one place. And if you get tripped up, Kilo is there for you with kind of a 7 days a week customer service. I mean, you can't find that on platforms these days. It's incredible. So to learn more, go to usekilo.com. Tell them me and Mark sent you, and they'll basically waive the $1,000 setup fee. You can't beat that, my friends. Go do it now. It's usekilo.com, usekilo.com. Tell them we sent you.
Yeah, keep it simple. I mean, the first thing I'll just say right out the gate is in the spirit of keeping it simple. Especially, I see this a lot with the do-it-yourself sites, like people using Squarespace and things like that. Sliders. People are still using sliders. Don't use sliders. Just don't do them. They slow down your website. A slow site hurts your SEO. And there's a lot of data that just says, like, 1% of all people click on your slider, and people just like ignore them. They just scroll past them. So you've got a slider. That's a big don't. So we're just going to run by the don'ts real quick.
Yeah.
So sliders,
Great.
gotta go. The next one is, this is a tough one too. Trying to use your website for both sales and lead generation and also your clients. Ideally, you kind of have two portals, because let's say you have your website and you have like, a get started or learn more button, but then you also have like class reservations over here. That's too many different options. That's too many calls to action. It's a conflicting messaging for someone visiting your site. So you kind of want to separate the two. And I see this a lot with more of like the CrossFit niche. People will have their like workout of the day or their programming on there. And, that's telling visitors to do two things at once. Your call to action, your main thing that you want people to do, shouldn't have to compete with another thing that you're asking them to do. Yeah. If that makes sense.
Am I right in saying that I think we would agree on this? The website is primarily for people who are not members yet. Right?
Yeah.
And if people who are members need a button somewhere, they get a button somewhere, but they don't get any other real estate on your website.
Exactly.
Especially
That's
the
exactly
homepage,
right.
Yeah.
Yes, especially the homepage, especially the section above the fold, that first section you see when you click on it. That's exactly right. So yeah, try not to have too many different things that you want them to do, and try and separate your website for your new clients or your prospects, and then your existing members. So that's a big one. Imagery, scary imagery. This one, I don't think the gym owners you work with probably have as big of a problem as the gym owners that I work with this one.
You might be surprised. I feel like I talk about
scary
this one
images.
A lot. Go ahead.
Oh, really? Okay. So yeah, people doing amazing feats of fitness is amazing, and you should celebrate that in the gym, in your newsletter, on your Instagram for your clients, but not the first thing that prospects are seeing. Because if someone is doing a maximum deadlift or some kind of gymnastics thing that is very impressive, that's great, but it will scare off the uninitiated. So things to do when it comes to imagery.
Can I interrupt? I'm sorry.
Go for it.
Because I have a bone to pick on this one as well.
Yeah.
Well, also, I think you want your website to be aspirational. If there's feats of performance, you want it to be things that someone can accomplish in the first few weeks or months.
Yes.
Right? Not something
Yes.
you've accomplished after decades of being an Olympic lifter, right? And so I think that. But the other one that I'll say here, I think you'll agree with this one. I see so many websites still that are pictures of an empty friggin' gym. They're just pictures.
Yes,
of
the facility.
Pictures.
Yes.
And it drives me insane. No one is coming to. I say this with love because I just gave someone that might be listening to this podcast this feedback recently. But the picture at the top of their website was just a row of kettlebells, and I was giving this feedback with love, with no judgment, to say, honestly, if I landed on your page, I would think you sell kettlebells. If I didn't read any of the text.
That's exactly right.
Or I think you sell squat racks in some people's cases, right? And so the website should show people in your space, experiencing the service you're trying to sell them. So I wanted to add that one because I see that probably even more than I see feats of superhuman strength.
Totally, you're totally right. I mean, the notable exception is Equinox.
Oh,
but
sure.
but you're not Equinox, so don't do
or like
Equinox.
David Barton, or like if your space looks sexy as hell, and people are really just coming to spend money at your space, cool. But that's not most of you listeners.
the niche that the problem they were solving was most gyms are kind of dirty and scary and like dank and dark. So we have a luxurious one. Yep. So their market media message, that's solving that problem. But that's not what most of y'all out there are doing. You're solving the problem of, trying to get people more fit or healthier or happier. Yeah. So, if showing your kettlebell collection is not communicating that, unfortunately. What to show though, and it comes to people. And so, when you say aspirational, you can have someone, doing a pull up, like kind of peeking their head over. If they're smiling, that's fantastic. It's pretty simple and pretty basic here, but smiling faces are pretty much all you want on the homepage of your website. When's the last time you were, Kilo, you were at the grocery store in the cereal aisle?
Oh,
let me ask you that.
Yeah, probably a few weeks ago. I'm a big fan of Honey Nut Cheerios.
Yeah. Did you notice anything interesting that all the boxes have an animal that is smiling on the box.
Some mascot.
It is a smiling person or animal person.
Yep.
It's a smiling tiger or smiling toucan or smiling rabbit.
Bumblebee.
A smiling bumblebee, a smiling vampire, a smiling wolf. There's a smiling Paleolithic dad.
That's right. Yeah, you know your cereals. Yeah.
Yeah, so everyone is smiling, and that's very much on purpose. These are massive companies that have existed for many, many years and have probably spent some amount of money testing this, and they know that smiling faces sell cereal boxes. So that should be the takeaway. Get rid of your kettlebell image and put some person at your gym smiling after doing their first pull-up or something like that.
Yeah, well said.
So that's just the bee in my bonnet about scary images. And then the next thing, I guess I mentioned the above the fold term. So above the fold is basically just that section when you first land on the homepage, everything that you can see in that first section. It comes from, I believe, the old newspaper days.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think that's the origin as well.
The old newspaper times.
Before you unfold the whole paper, this was the thing you saw at the top that sits on the newsstands. Yeah.
Exactly, and it has to be very compelling, right? It has to have a really flashy and compelling headline because you need that person to pick up the paper and want to open the rest to see what else you got. And so your website, your section above the fold should do something very similar. So all of it should be optimized so that someone can figure out what you do by just landing on that section. Someone should be able to figure out what you do, what problem you solve, what service you provide in 10 seconds or less. So that's a fun little test and exercise that y'all can do. Show your website to your aunt or someone not totally involved or knows exactly what you do, and show them and see if they can figure it out, and then time them. That's a good little exercise. For y'all who are fans of StoryBrand, what they say is state what you do clearly. So that's kind of the takeaway for your headline and your subheadline, and then your call to action button. All that stuff should live right above the fold.
Yeah, I just want to plus one that idea of just go share it with people who are not familiar with what you do, and literally say, hey, I'm going to time you 10 seconds. You tell me, like, who do you think I serve, how you think I serve them, like what I do in 10 seconds or less. We do that with our Unicorn Society members, like on Zoom, and even people who've been in business for a long time, I think get great feedback from those exercises. So I just want to give 2 thumbs way up to that idea. So yeah, keep on going.
Yeah.
What other do's for the website?
Well, on that section too, and on that point, you want to tell people what to do, right? You want to tell them what to do after they've read your headlines. Like, all right, we help busy moms get fit with our Super Mom 12-week fat loss program. I don't know, whatever it is, right? Let's just pretend that's it. They've read that. And then what do you want them to do now is like click here to sign up for said program, for the thing I just told you about. You want to be really, really clear and specific on what you want them to do. So, and these might seem like small changes, but they make a difference. Instead of like, free intro, say book a free intro today, like book one now. You know what I mean? Sign up now versus sign up. Like there is a difference there. And there is a specificity there that I think does make a big difference. And as I kind of touched on this before, but these call to actions, right? These buttons that you want people to click, or these forms you want them to fill out, they shouldn't compete with other things on your website. They shouldn't compete for website real estate. This should be front and center. If there's a button, right, like a book a free intro now button, it should be littered everywhere on your website, right? So if they do scroll, there's an easy way for them to find it and click it, right? And then those things should offer some kind of value. Free works really well. People like free stuff. So that's why I'm very partial to the book a free intro now, or, if you are someone who likes to do a free class or free week, I mean, that is compelling. There's some drawbacks to that. But yeah, the free in the button, definitely works. It's definitely, like I said, very compelling, and it's an easy way to offer some value, right? But if you're trying to maybe get people involved in online program, maybe an online workout class, maybe, you have a longer funnel to try and get people into that, a free ebook or a free meal plan or a free guide, like that's another way you can offer value and get people to take some action, and get their contact info in exchange for some value. Yeah. So that's another way you can do it too.
I think that's so smart. And I hope you listeners are, one, taking notes, but also just getting a picture of what this website looks like above the fold. Just a clear articulation of this is what we do, who we serve, how we serve them, and this is how you get started, right? That has to happen in the first 10 seconds or else you're going to lose people. And there's a lot of other tips there, Mateo, you included here, like, free sometimes helps, a sense of urgency sometimes helps.
Totally, yeah, limited spots.
Yeah, clarity is the key here, though, right? Just it has to be clear to someone who's visiting the website for the first time, and that takes some trial and error. That takes some wordsmithing often, and so you don't be afraid, listeners, for this to be iterative, right? Go try, test it, see how it works, ask people, get feedback. That's great. What else? Anything else about websites that are really key?
Yeah, the last thing here is you gotta collect some info from people.
Yeah.
if you've got people on your site, like that's a lot of work just to get people there, right? They had to scroll through maybe a search results page on Google and find you at the bottom. Maybe they saw an ad that you paid money for. Maybe you did build a fancy sandwich board sign outside. You spent a lot of time putting out flyers or whatever it is. That's a lot of effort to get them to this place. So you want to be able to, you want to make it really easy for them to get in contact with you or to take whatever action you want them to take. If you want them to claim a free class, you need to make it really easy for them to claim a free class. So click the form, fill out your info, here's your free coupon. That's got to be really simple and quick and fast. Or if you want them to inquire about an intro, you want them to fill out the form and then have a way for them to schedule said intro right there. So yeah, you want to make it very easy for people to give you their name, email, and ideally phone number.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest thing. I'll see websites with these big images above the fold, like whatever, best gym in town, whatever it says, like world's best pizza, best gym in town, and then there's no way to actually opt in for anything. Like there's no form, or maybe there's not even a phone number, or it is, but it's at the bottom.
Not an address. I don't even know what country you're in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, a lead capture mechanism on your website is absolutely 100% critical, and that's the part that I think can get tricky for people. And if you need help with that, just give me a call or one of my friends, and we can totally help you.
Fun fact, Kilo does all of this. So,
yes.
It's a good thing they have you. So that's amazing. I feel like I can ask a million more questions. So maybe what we'll do is, Mateo, let's wrap it up here, because I think that was enough for our listeners. If they were taking notes, they got a master class in both the 3 pillars of marketing and website homepages. So bravo. And I'll have you back again, and we'll talk about some other things about what happens next, about all the follow-up you hinted at, about the offers you make them, about how to get conversion numbers up. Because I think our listeners are probably like, keep going, tell us more. And listeners, we will do that. We'll have Mateo back. How's that sound?
Totally, yeah. After they opt in, there's a whole host of things we got to do. So
that's where the fun begins, really.
That's definitely where the fun begins. Getting someone on the phone and talking to them. Hey, I saw you filled out the form. I didn't fill out this form. Oh, you sure? That's the best part about running a gym, I think. We can talk about all that. In fact, I've been working on actually some material for you. Keeler and your acolytes.
Our Unicorn Society group is going to get some of your love. Yeah,
there'll be some content in there too. If you missed this podcast, or if you do want to learn more, I'm going to provide some resources in the curriculum really soon here.
That's exciting.
And we'll go into more detail about pretty much everything we just said here today.
Yeah,
so
I'm excited.
So yeah,
for those of you who are maybe new listeners, we have this group called the Unicorn Society, which is people gym owners who work with us on a regular basis. And we have a platform for them called Unicorn University. And Mateo is going to be contributing some content about all the things we just talked about and more onto that platform. So it's another reason to become a Unicorn Society member. So we'll schedule something as soon as we get done with this call and have you back again for sure. In the meantime, how can people learn more about you on the interwebs? Go find Kilo. Where can they look?
Honestly, the best place is usekilo.com is the best place to find more info about websites, about lead capture, about lead nurture, about, how to keep track of your business metrics. A lot of the services we offer can help you with that. We also have a blog with free tools on there as well, where we talk about all this stuff. So you can read all that and find some more info. And I'm on there too.
Yeah. I love that. Well, friends,
Mateo at usekilo.com.
That's it. Yeah. Shoot Mateo an email. Go to usekilo.com. Even if you don't plan on using the platform yet, and most of you should probably use the platform, go and look at the resources. Like I said, Mateo said there's a ton of resources there that expand on some of the concepts we talked about today. And so thank you for your time, Mateo. I know you're busy as hell being the kind of the product wizard over there. So thanks for taking the time to talk to us. And this was so valuable. I can't wait to do it again.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me, and yeah, I'm excited for the next one.
Hello, my friends. It's me again. Just a quick reminder that our Coaching Conversations course is coming up. It's a 2-day live workshop on Zoom, Friday, October 14th, Saturday, October 15th. 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern. You can register at businessforunicorns.com/coaching conversations. If you have any questions at all about the course, just email me, michael@businessforunicorns.com. Hope to see you there.